The first time Imani walked into Velvet Haze, she was wearing a dress the color of spilled blood. It clung to her like a confession, drawing eyes from every corner of the club. Z noticed her immediately, not because she was beautiful, though she was, but because she walked through his world like she already owned it. Zubair Dangana didn't become king of Lagos nightlife by missing details. The diamond cufflinks, the too perfect posture, the way she dismissed the attention of men who would kill for a glance. She was Senator Kalu's daughter, the man whose campaign he'd quietly funded last election. The irony wasn't lost on him. The politician's daughter in the den of the very criminal he pretended to fight. Whatever she orders goes on my tab, Z told his bartender, watching her from the VIP section above the dance floor. He waited, counting. 3 minutes before she looked up, meeting his gaze with calculated precision. She raised her glass in mock toast before turning away. No one turned away from Z. By 2 a.m., the club pulsed with Nigeria's elite. Oil money, tech money, blood money, all the same currency in Z's economy of influence. He made his way to her, parting crowds with nothing but presence. "You're in my club looking bored, senator's daughter," he said, close enough that his words brushed against her ear. "That's bad for business." Imani turned, close enough that he could smell her perfume. "Something expensive and sharp. Is that what I am? A business problem? You're whatever you want to be in here." His voice was smooth, practiced. "But nothing's free. I don't pay for things." Her smile was a weapon. "Men pay for me. I'm not most men." "No," she agreed, eyes scanning him with deliberate slowness. "You're the one my father warns about when he thinks I'm listening." Z laughed, a sound rarely genuine, but now touched with real amusement. "And yet here you are." "I wanted to see the monster up close." Her finger traced the rim of her glass. "You're less frightening than advertised." He leaned closer. "That's the most dangerous thing about monsters, Miss Kalu. We never look the part." Something flashed in her eyes. Hunger, perhaps, or recognition. She stood, the movement fluid and practiced. "Show me the rest of it." "The rest of what?" "Your kingdom." She gestured around the club. "The parts tourists don't see." He should have said no. In his world, curiosity was a liability. But there was something calculated in her recklessness that mirrored his own rise to power. "Follow me," he said, offering his hand. In the back office, away from the pounding music, he watched her examine everything. The security monitors, the imported furniture, the handcrafted safe behind his desk. "So this is where it happens," she said, running fingers along his desk. "The deals that keep politicians like my father rich and criminals like you necessary. Your father would be disappointed to hear you speak so clearly." "My father," she said, voice suddenly cold, "has never seen me clearly a day in his life." She moved toward him then, purposeful, dangerous. Z recognized the look of someone about to make a terrible decision. He'd worn it himself, climbed to power on the back of it. "What do you want, Imani Kalu?" He remained still, letting her approach. "To burn something down." She was close enough now that he could see the perfect application of her makeup, the controlled rise and fall of her chest. "To matter." "And you think I'm the flame?" Her smile was bitter, beautiful. "No, Zubair Dangana. I think I am." When she kissed him, it felt like a declaration of war. 3 weeks into their complicated arrangement, Z realized Imani wasn't just flirting with danger. She was seeking it out. She absorbed his world quickly, asking detailed questions about shipments and supply routes, memorizing names and vulnerabilities in his network. "You're gathering information," he said one night, watching her get ready after hours in his penthouse above Lagos. Outside, the city lights fought with the stars neither of them had time to notice. "I'm learning," she replied, adjusting her earrings. "Isn't that what you wanted? Someone who understands your world?" It wasn't. What he wanted was her, unraveled, calling his name, belonging to him beyond the physical. something he couldn't name and wouldn't admit to, something that scared him. "Your father called yesterday," Z said, watching her in the mirror. "He's worried about your new connections." Imani's laugh was sharp. "Did you tell him you're involved with his daughter while handling shipments?" "I told him business is business." He moved behind her, hands firm on her hips. "What is this to you, Imani? Business or pleasure? Can't it be both?" She turned to face him. "Isn't that your specialty?" The next day, she joined him at a meeting with Ukrainian suppliers. Z introduced her as an associate, but the way his hand stayed on her back told a different story. She spoke confidently, asking questions that showed deep understanding of the market. The Ukrainians were impressed. On the drive home, Z studied her. "Where did you learn to talk like that?" "I grew up hearing men negotiate my father's deals." She looked out at Lagos rushing by. "Everyone has a price. Even you." That night, someone tried to sabotage one of Z's warehouses. Small-time thieves, quickly handled, but the timing concerned him. When he told Imani, she suggested a harsh retaliation that even gave him pause. "They need to know who you are," she said, eyes gleaming with something beyond anger. "What it costs to cross you." He followed her plan. 3 rivals were hospitalized. A clear message sent. The violence should have unsettled her. Instead, she came to him that night with a fierce intensity that left marks on his skin, as if the power was intoxicating in a way no drug could match. "You're going to destroy yourself," he warned later, watching her smoke on the balcony, the city lights casting colors over her bare skin. "Maybe," she said, exhaling slowly, "but I'll look incredible doing it." 2 days later, she used her father's influence to secure a permit Z had been chasing for months, a prime location for a new club, perfect for laundering money from his growing operations. "How?" he asked, holding the paperwork she delivered with a proud smile. "I told my father you're considering legitimate investments in his next campaign." "Officially," she shrugged, "he wants to make you a proper businessman." "And unofficially?" "I know things he doesn't want public." "Everyone has leverage, Z, even fathers." He pulled her close, a mix of admiration and fear swelling inside him. "You're playing a dangerous game." "I'm not playing." Her eyes locked with his, serious for the first time. "That's what you don't understand." Later, he found her scrolling through his phone while he showered. When confronted, she didn't apologize. "Trust is earned," she said simply. "I'm still deciding about you." That night, he gave her access to his secondary accounts. Not everything, never everything, but enough to test her loyalty, enough to bind her closer, enough perhaps to own a piece of her soul the way she was quietly claiming pieces of his. By the 3rd month, Lagos buzzed with talk of them, the arms dealer and the senator's daughter, a powerful duo moving through the city's elite with sharp charm and undeniable edge. Doors opened, deals progressed faster. Imani's social influence paired with Z's underground network built an empire growing beyond nightclubs and arms. "We should move into property development," Imani suggested one evening, stretched out on his couch, reviewing numbers on her laptop. "Legitimate business, government contracts." Z washed from his desk, cleaning a handgun with steady hands. "You want to go legitimate. I want to be untouchable." Her eyes met his, sharp and certain. "There's a difference." She had changed, subtly. Designer dresses mixed with hidden knives, her laughter sharper when violence was near. She carried a small pistol Z had given her, elegant and deadly, like its owner. Together, they moved like royalty, his dangerous reputation and her political ties forming a shield. When they fought, often and fiercely, the passion that followed left hotel rooms in disarray. Their relationship was fire meeting fuel, over and over. But there were quiet moments too, rare and precious. Imani speaking Igbo in her sleep, fragments of a past she never shared. Z tracing a small scar on her shoulder, a story kept secret. Times when the mask slipped, revealing something almost tender. "Would you kill for me?" she asked once, out of the blue as they lay tangled in sheets. I already have. He wasn't lying. A journalist had asked too many questions about the senator's daughter's new life. The man now rested at Lagos Lagoon's bottom. She nodded, unsurprised. Would you die for me? He paused. No one had ever been worth that. Would you? He asked. Imani laughed, genuine and startling. Oh, Z, I'd watch you bleed if it served me. He believed her, and it only made him want her more. The next week brought trouble. A shipment was intercepted at the port. Strange, since Z's officials were on the payroll. Strange enough to mean someone was leaking. Someone's talking, his security chief warned. Z reviewed everyone with shipment access. The list was short. Trusted lieutenants, Ukrainian suppliers, Imani. He watched her closely, calls in private, deleted encrypted messages. Once, he caught her photographing documents in his office while he slept. When he confronted her, she flipped the accusation. You've been distant, secretive. What are you hiding from me? The argument escalated until she threw a glass that shattered near his head. He caught her wrists, pinning her against the wall. If you betray me, he whispered close to her neck, I'll destroy everything you love before I come for you. You assume I love anything, she said, steady despite his grip. That night, their passion was desperate and fierce. Later, watching her sleep, Z made 2 calls, one to boost security, another to have her followed. Trust was a luxury neither could afford, but addiction required none. And that's what she had become, his dangerous, beautiful addiction. 2 days later, Senator Kalu requested a private meeting. Alone. My daughter, the senator said, serious across his desk, is not part of any deal between us. Z stayed calm. Imani makes her own choices. Does she? The senator's smile was cold. Or is she your insurance to keep me cooperating? You insult us both. Then end it. The senator leaned forward. Walk away, and our business goes on. Persist, and I'll publicly oppose the criminal elements corrupting our city. Z chuckled softly. You've taken my money for years. Prove it, the senator challenged. Meanwhile, I'm a father protecting his daughter from a criminal. The threat hung thick. Z's empire was built on odds. The risk of keeping Imani versus losing her. For once, the math didn't matter. She stays, he said, standing. And if anything happens to her, no security in Nigeria will save you. The senator's face hardened. Then we're done. That night, Z kept the meeting secret. Instead, he transferred funds offshore, updated his will, and called contacts in Dubai. For the first time since rising to power, Zubair Dangana considered leaving it all behind. The raid came at dawn, when Lagos was just waking. Police struck 3 of Z's warehouses at once. They knew exactly where to find hidden compartments, which containers held weapons, and which documents to seize. The precision spoke of inside information, detailed knowledge only someone close to him could have. Z watched the news from a safe house across town, his expression unreadable as his phone flooded with alerts. His main club remained untouched, a deliberate choice with its own message. When Imani finally called, her voice was tight with restrained panic. Are you safe? Concerned about me? That's new. His tone was casual, as if discussing the weather instead of the collapse of his operations. Don't be stupid. Where are you? Where were you last night? He countered. Not in my bed. Not answering calls. The pause was brief but telling. Meeting with investors. I told you. You told me many things. Z cut the call, then removed the battery from his phone. By nightfall, his suspicions were confirmed. Security footage from his club showed Imani in his office at 2 a.m., photographing documents and accessing his computer. More troubling was a meeting his men had spotted. Imani handing a flash drive to one of the senator's aides in a hotel lobby 3 days earlier. The betrayal burned cold, turning into something dangerous and calculated. He had been outplayed, skillfully. The question was why. He waited in her apartment, sitting in darkness until she arrived. She sensed him immediately, freezing in the doorway. "That was quick," she said, closing the door behind her. "I thought you'd run longer." "Did you?" He stayed seated, voice calm. "When did you decide to turn on me? From the start, or did your conscience grow?" She stepped deeper inside, dropping her purse onto a table, reaching for the gun inside. He knew, but he'd already taken it. Looking for this, he held up her pearl-handled pistol. "You should be more careful with your toys." "It's not what you think." Her voice stayed steady, always controlled. "His Imani. Enlighten me. My father has evidence that could put you away for decades. I convinced him to target only the weapons operation. The clubs remain untouched. Your legitimate businesses continue." How merciful. His laugh was dry. "You expect thanks. I expect understanding." She stepped closer, fearless. "This way, you rebuild. Cleaner, smarter. We rebuild." "We?" The word tasted bitter. "I bought you time." She insisted. "My father wanted to destroy everything. Take every cent, every property. I negotiated, while warming my bed, taking my trust, learning my secrets." He rose, moving toward her with cold precision. "Was sleeping with me part of the deal too?" The slap echoed sharply in the quiet room. He caught her wrist before she could strike again, twisting until she gasped. "Don't pretend it was just business," she hissed, eyes bright with fierce tears. "Don't you dare." Something cracked inside him. He released her abruptly. "Then what was it? What are we, Imani?" "Survivors." She rubbed her wrist, voice softening. "My father was coming for you with or without me. At least this way, I controlled what parts of you survived." So this was protection. The idea was strange enough to almost make him laugh. "Love, you fool." The words fell between them like broken glass. "My twisted, selfish version." For a moment, he faltered. Then his phone vibrated. A message from security. More raids, more arrests, accounts frozen. Details only someone close could reveal. "Your love is expensive." He showed her the message. "And still costing me." Her expression hardened. "You need to leave Lagos. Tonight. Running isn't my style." "It's not running." She moved to a painting, sliding it aside to reveal a hidden safe he hadn't known about. From it, she withdrew a passport, bank cards, and documents. Its strategic retreat. The passport bore his photo but a different name. The papers detailed properties in Cape Town under that alias. "How long planned this?" he asked, flipping through the perfect forgeries. "Since the first night." She wouldn't meet his eyes. "I told you I wanted to burn something down." Understanding dawned slowly, painfully. "Your father. This was never just about me." "Not entirely." She finally looked up. "But you were the match I needed." Outside, sirens grew louder. Decisions compressed to seconds. Trust the woman who betrayed him, or face certain arrest. The irony wasn't lost. "Come with me," he said suddenly, surprising them both. For the first time, Imani looked truly conflicted. "I can't. Not yet. There's more to finish." He should have stopped her then. It would have been safer. Instead, he memorized her face one last time before taking the documents. "If this is another trap." "It's an escape route," she interrupted. "Whether you deserve it or not." He left without touching her, without promises. The last image he carried was Imani standing alone in her apartment, fragile for the first time. 6 months passed like smoke, insubstantial yet lingering. Cape Town suited Z in ways Lagos never had. Cleaner air, cleaner business. His new identity came with carefully constructed history and connections that only serious money could provide. Imani had planned thoroughly, whatever her true intentions. He built a new life with mechanical precision. Legitimate investments, a beachfront property, a nightclub catering to wealthy tourists, no back rooms, no hidden compartments. Nothing worth investigating. At night, he dreamed of blood-red dresses and sharp laughter, of betrayal that still burned like acid in his veins. News from Nigeria came in carefully encrypted messages from the few loyalists who remained. Senator Kalu's star had risen dramatically after the crackdown on organized crime. His daughter had become his most visible asset, poised, brilliant, the perfect political protégé. Photographs showed her at campaign events, elegant and untouchable, eyes revealing nothing. Z followed her ascent with detached fascination. The pain had calcified into something harder, more enduring. Not hate, exactly. Recognition, perhaps, of a player whose game was longer than his own. Then, on a rainy Tuesday, she walked into his club as if 6 months and 1,000 betrayals had never happened. "Nice place," Imani said, sliding onto the stool beside him at his private bar. "Less flashy than your latest operations." He didn't look at her. "How did you find me?" "I created you." She signaled the bartender, who looked to Z for approval before pouring her champagne. "Did you think I wouldn't know exactly where you'd land?" "What do you want?" "My father is becoming Minister of Defense next month." She sipped her drink, the gesture deliberately casual. "He's establishing a special task force to pursue international arms traffickers, starting with Southern Africa." Z finally turned, studying her. She'd lost weight. There was a new hardness around her mouth, a calculating coldness that hadn't been there before. Success had its costs, too. Another warning. More protection. His smile was sharp. "Or have you come to finish what you started?" "I've come to offer a partnership." She placed a flash drive on the bar between them. "Everything my father has on arms networks across the continent. Names, routes, competition you didn't even know existed. Why would I trust anything from you?" "Because I'm not asking for trust." Her voice dropped lower. "I'm asking for revenge." He raised an eyebrow, waiting. "My father had my mother killed 15 years ago." The words were delivered with clinical detachment. "I've spent every day since then working toward this moment." The weapons operation was just phase 1. Getting him the ministry position was phase 2. And phase 3. Complete destruction. Her smile was terrible in its beauty. His reputation, his freedom, his legacy, everything. "You used me to build his reputation," Z observed. "Now you want to use me to destroy it." "I used us," she corrected. "What we built together. What we can still build. There is no us. There's always been us." She reached for his hand. He allowed the contact, feeling nothing but the ghost of what once burned there. Two people who understand that love and destruction aren't opposites. They're accomplices. Outside, rain lashed against windows overlooking the Atlantic. Inside, two predators calculated risk and reward, betrayal and desire. "If I help you," he said finally, "I want something in return. Name it. When it's done, when he's destroyed, you walk away. From Nigeria, from me, from whatever game comes next. We end this." Pain flickered across her face, genuine enough to surprise him. "Is that what you want?" "Truly." "What I want," he said carefully, "died in a Lagos apartment 6 months ago." She nodded slowly, withdrawing her hand. "Then we have a deal. Partners once more for the final act." He took the flash drive, knowing that agreeing meant reigniting the flame that had nearly consumed him once before. Knowing, too, that some fires were worth the burns they left behind. 3 weeks later, they launched their offensive from the shadows. Financial records mysteriously leaked to international investigators. Evidence of the senator's involvement in weapons trafficking. Ironically, the very operation he'd used to boost his anti-crime credentials, finding its way to journalists. Offshore accounts traced back to assassinations of political rivals. Imani played her part publicly, the shocked, devastated daughter standing by her father until the evidence became too damning. Her press conference denouncing him, tears perfectly timed, captured international headlines. Her private victory, watching from Z's penthouse as her father was led away in handcuffs, tasted sweeter than any champagne. "It's done," she said that night, standing on his balcony overlooking the ocean. The same position she'd taken so many times in Lagos, smoke curling from her lips into the night air. "Is it enough?" he asked, keeping his distance. "Does it fill the hole?" "Nothing ever will." Her honesty was startling after so many lies. "But it's justice, of a sort." Dawn found them side by side, not touching, watching light break over the water. The silence between them held years of might-have-beens. "I did love you," she said finally. "In my way." "Your way was always the problem." He smiled faintly. "Too much smoke, not enough oxygen." She nodded, understanding. In another life, perhaps they could have burned together without consuming each other. In this one, they were always destined to leave ashes. When she left, neither made promises about not seeing each other again. They both knew better than to believe in promises. Z returned to his rebuilt life, knowing part of him would always search for blood-red dresses in every crowd. Imani disappeared into Europe, reinventing herself again, as she always would. Some fires aren't meant to be sustained, but in the quiet moments before sleep, in the spaces between breaths, the smoke lingers in the lungs long after the flame is extinguished.